Hello, my name is Marcia Woon Choi, and I am the CEO of Action Coach here in Jamaica, and I am your presenter today. So, on behalf of Scotiabank, I would like to welcome you to our webinar today on Survive and Thrive, Innovate and Reallocate. We're going to be sharing with you some steps your business must take to manage through the COVID-19 crisis. Now, I'm waiting on Audrey Tugwell Henry to join us here because she has been working very hard with her team of Casey Johnson Vaughan, as well as Hope Macmillan in marketing, to schedule this webinar for you. So I'm just waiting on her to enter so that she can address you. There she is. So Audrey, I'm going to allow you now to address the participants on behalf of Scotiabank.
Unmute. Hi, Marcia.
Hi, how are you? How are you,
I'm well, thanks.
Audrey? Yes.
Good, thank you. First of all, let me just thank you so much for arranging this and for just continuing to support small businesses in Jamaica. On behalf of Scotiabank, I welcome all our participants and thank you all for joining. I would have to say that for everyone right now at this point in time, we're in uncharted and unprecedented waters. And so we are trying our best as a bank to support our customers during this most difficult time. There are things that we're doing specifically that you can reach out to your branches for support on. And we're also encouraging all our customers to continue to use our digital channels so that you will have uninterrupted and seamless banking service. But this evening is to take you through, as Marcia indicated, ways to thrive and to do well and to identify opportunities and to tap into opportunities during this period of COVID, and to also find that inner strength to be able to rise above everything that is happening and to be courageous in taking this new course. It is very likely that life as we know it and business as usual as we know it may take some time before we get back there. But I believe that in all circumstances, there are opportunities, and we want to support you in identifying opportunities, and we want to support you in finding ways to continue to operate your business and to continue to lead your teams for those persons who have teams and to continue to support your families. So, we're in Jamaica, we say one love, one heart. This really is a time for one love, and we really want to just encourage each person to continue to be kind, to be caring, and to continue to be our brothers keepers as we try our best not to allow this virus to spread, and work very hard as one nation in getting things back to as normal as we can. So thank you so much, Marcia. Thank you all to everyone for joining. I now hand over to Marcia.
Thank you, Audrey. Okay, one of the things that I want to also do before we begin is to welcome the other islands. We have the Bahamas, we have Jamaica, we have Belize and Grand Cayman. So I really want to have a very special shout out to all of those in these islands. So what we're going to be doing today is sharing with you the steps your business must take now. So I'm going to ask you to make sure that you take a lot of notes during the webinar. We will have questions at the end. So I'm going to ask everybody to hold their questions in the end, or you can actually put them in the chat as we go along, and then I'll address them later on. So what we want to do is to first of all get straight into the content right now that you will need over the ensuing weeks. As Audrey said, these are unprecedented times. We do not know where or when we will come out of this. However, one thing is certain, that we all want to survive and thrive. So today in our webinar, We'll be covering 11 steps, but I'm going to be putting them in what we call a 5-phase pivot process. So I'll be sharing with you the actual steps in 5 different phases because we believe that this is important now. Now you will notice that the 5 phases are your mindset matters. We're going to be looking at business pivots that you will need to take, the product and service pivots that you will definitely have to undertake, marketing and sales, as well as team and resources. But you'll notice that in the center of this is mindset. Mindset is because it all starts with that. Right now, I've been speaking to so many of our clients, and what I'm hearing is, I'm feeling down. I am not feeling very confident. So what I'd like to do now is to actually conduct a poll. And so I am going to launch the poll, and I'd like everyone who is online to go in and indicate where is your mindset today. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to complete the poll in terms of where your mindset is today. All right, so I see the responses coming in. So what I'm seeing so far, and I'm really, really happy to see this, is that most people are hopeful. I have another category of persons very concerned, and we have optimistic. So the main categories then that I am seeing with those who have voted so far is that people are optimistic, they're hopeful, but concerned. And that's where most people are at right now. Everybody is in that phase. I'm going to end the poll right now. So I'm just going to share the results so that you can see them. So we had 8% who were inspired, 19% optimistic, 32% are hopeful, and 27% concerned. And so what I'm really happy to see is that the mindset of the majority of the people right now are between hopeful and optimistic. And yes, we are a little concerned. So let's get into our webinar now. And so when we talk about where our mindset is now, the important thing to understand is that we can elevate and focus your mindset during a crisis. So we always talk about operating above or below the point of power. And so this point of power that we're looking at here is a matter of choice. So right now, many people are either blaming others, giving excuses, or they're actually even in denial that this crisis is even occurring. And they're blaming China, they're blaming the government, they're blaming so many different things, blaming the virus. Yes, the virus has occurred, and giving excuses as to why they can't do anything. And when you do that, what ends up happening is that you're giving your power away. And so you feel powerless and drained, as this battery shows. But what we're asking you to do during this period is to stay above that point. And this requires you to make a choice, a decision, and a commitment to say instead, despite all of what is happening, of what's happening around me, of what people are saying, I'm going to take full ownership, I'm going to be accountable, and I'm going to be responsible in terms of where my business goes, in terms of where my life goes. And once you do that, you don't give your power away. It's now from within you. It's you who is creating that power. So you'll notice the acronym here spells BED. And there are many people right now who are just sitting in depression alone and not taking any action. But we are called Action Coach. Our coaches are coaching you in terms of the actions that you need to take. So we want you to step above this point of power and instead say, I despite everything that is happening. I'm going to pick up my oar in this boat that I'm sailing in right now, and I am going to set a direction for myself. I am going to come out of this. I am going to survive, and I'm going to thrive. I'm going to take ownership. I'm going to be accountable and responsible for where my business goes. And so when you look at this whole matrix, I want to go through this. The responsibility process is that many of us will go through denial, then we'll go into blame, then we'll start to justify the fact that we're taking no actions. Then after a while, when we see others are actually doing well and taking action, we feel shame. And then because of that, now we start to feel inadequate. And sometimes we just want to quit. And then there are those who will now say, but if I quit, I have obligations. I have a team. I have bills. I have a family. I can't quit. So the responsibility process shows how we all navigate through the different thoughts. And so we go through this process all the way up here about avoiding or taking responsibility. What happens is that when we get to that point where we realize there are obligations, many of us as business owners have team members who are looking to us. Some of us have already had to furlough team members, but we still have a responsibility. And it is when we actually say and recognize one very important thing is that when we take that responsibility, it's important to remember that it's not something that can be delegated or assigned. And as leaders, when we take up that mantle of responsibility, it is a choice, it is a decision, and it is a commitment. I've been having so many sessions with business owners, and they're at that point where now they have gotten to the obligation point and recognizing, yes, I have responsibilities, and now they have to step up to the plate. And so this is one thing that we have to do as leaders, is recognize that we have to make that choice and that decision to go forward and lead our people through this crisis. The important thing is that always in a crisis, our identity is tested. This is when we show our true mettle. Will we roll over and die, or will we get up and take that leadership role? So one of the things I want to talk about is your identity iceberg as a part of you setting your mindset. Now, many people remember the story of the Titanic, and there was this iceberg that the ship had to avoid. And when they shouted out, iceberg, the ship swerved to avoid hitting it. But all that we can see of an iceberg are the actions, the decisions, and the behavior. What is at the tip of the iceberg is what is showing. So all that we could see of the Titanic was it when the Titanic was approaching the iceberg was the tip, what's above the water. However, what is below the water is what actually caused the Titanic to sink. Look at yourself now as an iceberg. Your results, the ones that you are experiencing now, and the ones that you're going to create in the future will show to everyone externally as the actions, the decisions that you take, and your behavior. But what's going to influence those actions, decisions, and behavior of each of us as we steer our businesses or our ships through this water is what's below the iceberg. And that will be, how do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as someone who is a winner, who is a survivor, who is a fighter? What are your values? You know, John, I'm also a John Maxwell coach in addition to being an action coach. And one of the things John Maxwell always says is that you must know your values in advance, because it is when you are tested by a crisis, that is what is going to guide you. So what are your values? How will you make decisions? Your beliefs. Do you believe that you can succeed? And the skills. Many of us right now in this crisis are having to upskill very rapidly to deal with what's happening. People are now using Zoom in a way that never used Zoom or any online platform before. And so now what we're going to have to recognize is that our identity, Iceberg, is being tested. And what we will also have to create for ourselves is a kind of environment that allows our iceberg to be able to flourish. So we also have to watch, who are we hanging around with? What are we listening to? One of the things we're going to have to control during this period, folks, is what are you putting into your mind? I know when we first started in this crisis, many people were just looking at WhatsApps every single second. They were looking at every single breaking news. They were watching CNN TV all day long. And as a result of that, they were becoming more fearful. So one of the things we say is watch what you feed, the environment, what you listen to, what you watch, what you hear, even people who are around you. You may have to excuse yourself from some people who are negative and who are giving you doom and gloom, and instead say, listen, I want to feed myself with positive, nurturing thoughts and start to upgrade my skills so that I know and have the skills to be able to get out of this crisis. So the mindset that I want each of you to have in every single country is this: the only failure. You are not a failure. Things may be failing now, but you are not a failure. And the only failure right now is the failure to participate. We have got to get up every single day and keep going. We're going to have to keep trying. We're going to have to put one step in front of the other. We're going to have to pick up the phone and call someone. We're going to have the tough conversations. But one thing is certain, you cannot just curl up in a ball and die. So you are going to have to participate fully. That mindset is one, is I will not fail, and that's a decision. So you're going to give your 100%. There is no failure unless you give up. Failure is guaranteed if you give up. So do not fail. Give 100% and you'll get 100%. So I'm not saying that we aren't in a crisis. But what we have to understand is, what do we have control over? Listening to the breaking news all day long and what's happening, there are things that's in the every else space, everything else on the outside of this circle here. Those are the things that we can't control. There are leaders, there are governments, the pace at which the virus is spreading in your country, you have no direct control over. However, there is another sphere of influence that impacts you, and that is, okay, yes, where you're located. You may be in, as we have in Jamaica now, you may be in a lockdown in Portmore. Some of you in the islands are already in lockdown. So there may be things that are impacting you. And so there are some things that influence, there's that sphere of influence that you can't control there either. But there is that sphere in the center, which is the sphere of control. And you are right smack in the middle of that. That's what you have control over. And what that is, let us start, first of all, is this: the law of connection. A lot of us are allowing our outer world to determine our inner world. And folks, I am spending time on mindset because I've had to coach many business owners through mindset before we can take on any other action. So do not allow your outer world to determine your inner world. You are larger than anything that can happen to you. Many of us we have to have the habit of focusing on what you do have versus what you don't. Many of my clients, when they come onto our coaching session, are starting off with, I am grateful. We have to focus instead on what is it that we have versus what we don't have. The other area is the law of control. We have control over putting a different thought in our head. Not every thought that comes into our mind should we entertain. Just because one person in our industry is failing and everybody's saying, okay, this isn't going to happen until next year, you're going to die because the industry is dead. Many of us are in tourism, but no, let's not entertain that thought. We have control over our thinking ourselves, and this is where the battlefield is right now, folks. The battlefield is for your mind, and you have got to control those thoughts, because when you have, I don't know if any of you know about the law of attraction, but if you think negative thoughts long enough, your energy is going to be depleted. So you're going to feel low and you're going to feel down. However, if you think uplifting and powerful thoughts, then you will start to get more high energy, and that renews you. It's like that battery. The other thing I want us to look at in terms of the sphere of control is the law of change. So what it says is, if I can control over my thoughts by putting a different thought in our head, it says we can change our thought patterns. So many times when we work with our clients, I will ask them to take a sheet of paper, and I'd love you all to do that exercise, not now, but later on. And down the center of that sheet of paper, I want you to put a line. And on the left side, I want you to write, what are all the negative thought patterns that are running through your mind now? And then on the right side, I want you to choose instead to change a powerful, affirming, and positive thought by writing the opposing, powerful, affirming, and positive thought that you could change, that you could think instead. And then the other thing is that what we can also change is how we react. Just because something happens to us doesn't mean you have to have a knee-jerk reaction to it. When something happens, we again have a choice as to how I respond or how I react. Let me give you the example of a doctor. When you go to a doctor and he gives you medication and you go away and you take it, when you return to the doctor, he will say to you, Marcia, your body is reacting to the medication. And that sounds kind of negative. But when he says instead, Marcia, your body is responding to the medication, then you feel great. Okay, it's working. So what we have to do during this period is, when things happen, pause and choose how you will respond. Reacting is like a knee-jerk action. Respond, think about it, and respond positively. Everything is neutral in the law of change until we give it meaning. Absolutely. Everything is neutral until we give it meaning. Someone may say to me, there is a mouse in the house, and to me, that will not mean anything. But to someone else, if you say there's a mouse in the house, before you know it, they're running through the door. So we give meaning to everything. So what we have to do is understand, what meaning are we giving to things that are happening in our life now? And then the fourth area is the law of attraction. Michael Lozier, in his book, The Law of Attraction, says, your brain wants to prove what it thinks. It looks for anything that will prove its hypothesis. So we have a part of our brain called the reticular activating system, and it acts like the compass for your brain. So if you keep thinking that doom and gloom is going to happen, or that I am not going to make any sales, or that, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills, or I'm going to lose all of my customers, then you're going to set your RAS to look for those things. And before you know it, because your brain works that way, it starts to look for any proof that you're going to lose customers, and then you start to take action in that way that could actually cause you to lose customers. If you focus on drama and turmoil, it will consume you. So I'm going to say to you guys, this is a very important area. Stop looking at all the drama and turmoil around you and have what we call tunnel vision. Focus on the things that we want to have happen. And that's going to start first with you deciding, what do I want? Where do I want to go? What do I want to have happen with my business? So the most dangerous phrase in the English language is, we have always done it this way. Do you know many business owners are still stuck in where they were at the time this crisis occurs, which means they're not pivoting. They're saying, but this is the only way we've always done it, so we're going to die. We can't survive. I mean, if nobody's going to come into my store, how am I going to operate? So that's the most dangerous phrase in the English language, is we've always done it this way. We've got to recognize that there is a different way in which we can do things. If we aren't willing to change, for certain we will die. So I'm going to go now into the business structure. So the first phase was mindset. Work on that. Make sure we're focusing on positive things. Control the thoughts that you're entering your brain and make a decision that I am going to get up on the inside every single day and take the actions until my business gets up on the outside. Phase 2, business structure. An organization, no matter how well designed, is only as good as the people who live in it and work in it. How does your organization right now need to adapt to meet the change in marketplace? Do I need to simplify my structure? Do I need to downsize? There are shifts that you're going to have to make. You know, in that organization shift, I have gone and coached some clients who I knew from the beginning. And I said to them, based on what's happening, you will have to downsize. You will have to shift your team size in order to serve based on what's happening in the industry. And of course, those business owners went through a period of denial. They didn't want to downsize. But there are times when you're going to have to make some decisions very quickly in order for your business to survive. And based on the fact that your doors may be closed and you may have to pivot to operate differently, you may not need the same structure or number of team members. Folks, that's why I said with this mindset, we're going to have to recognize there are going to be tough choices we'll have to make. In addition to that, roles may shift. For example, could you be shifting your office or admin staff to now making calls to clients, engaging prospects, educating them on changes to your product or service? So I had an example of a client right now. His business is in construction. He would normally be doing paving, etc., for their clients. So I'm saying, in this down period, get your office and admin staff now to start putting together your prospect list of clients who you could be creating that database for, developing scripts and having them call these prospects to look for opportunities to sell them some of the products that you may have, whether they buy now or right as they're coming out of this crisis. And then also to be educating your prospects as well on changes that you're making to your product or service. So think about the team members you have right now. How can I repurpose them? Shifting their roles to assist in different things. I had a business owner who said to me, you know, my father has now become the bearer because he's running around delivering things, because in this time, our roles are going to have to shift. We also are going to have to look at our cost structures. So sometimes turning costs into profits. Again, for example, shifting some of your overhead resources like the admin, etc., to drive the sales revenue. You know, I even had someone who has normally, they would use vans as a part delivery. They would have their trucks and so on and their vehicles that they would normally be using as a part of the delivery of their products and services in their business. And I said to them, now listen, you have these resources that are there, and you have your people who are on salary, who are your delivery men. Now you can't do anything now in terms of your business because of the type of business it is, but you can actually use those resources now to actually have them be the persons who are delivering using their vans and that resources now to earn revenue by offering your vehicles and your team to deliver goods for businesses who are now able to actually deliver the products to their customers but don't have the delivery mechanism or people in place. The other thing is inbound to outbound delivery model. Does your business model need to change to now accommodate taking your product or service to your customer? You know, I have one of my clients, I'm going to give you examples throughout this webinar of clients who are shifting. So if you were doing business where people would come to you, you are now going to have to think about, how can I change my model now where I deliver to them? So we've been having some of our clients in the retail business who are saying, listen, curbside pickup, instead of us, you coming into the store for the protection of ourselves and for you, pick up on the curb, or in addition to that, we will deliver to you. So we now have to now go towards bringing the products to our customers to survive. One of the things we also have to start doing is identify the weak link. When you look at your organization, so this is coming back again to the mindset. Take time to come out of panic mode and really start to look at your organization. Focus your energy and resources to looking at improvements in the area in your business first that you need to strengthen for your entire organization. Right now, it could be marketing. Right now, it could be sales. But whatever it is, identify the weak link in your organization and focus your energy and resources to improve that. Look at your business as if you are looking at it from above and really see, where are we not able to deliver right now? What can we do? How can we shore this up? Do I need to maybe get someone else to do? Say, for example, some of our events, we are now using an online ticketing agent to be able to receive payments for some of our customers for some of our events. We have to look at where the weak link is and then make sure that we strengthen that area. Another thing is resolution. What can you do that has never been attempted in the past? Meaning innovate. There are things that we may need to come up with, offer solutions that this is a time, you know, when we may be thinking about products that we could have offered before. And in a crisis, this is actually when many of us are pushed out of our comfort zone and actually at that point in time now are forced to bring those ideas to the plate. I've been thinking about this, I've been thinking about that, let me do it right now. And that business owner, she was saying, you know, I have these ideas all along in my head, but I wasn't able to bring it to life now. But based on the environment now, she's able to do it. I'm going to give you an example. We have kids at home who are right now being homeschooled. They are locked up in their houses. And it was coming up to Easter. And I said to her, this is a candy store, an ice cream store. And I said to her, it's Easter. Those kids are going to want to do what normally happens at Easter, which is Easter egg hunt. And she said yes, and she teamed up with another company who is into educational things for kids, and they came together and created an Easter egg hunt kit that they developed and immediately went out and offered so that people could now pick up and give as gifts as well Easter egg hunt packages that they were delivering to homes and people were picking up on the curb. Folks, she had always had these ideas. She even already had the bags and the stuff to make it, and she just never did bring it to life. At this point in time, there are ideas that are in the back of your mind. Bring them out now. It's the time to innovate and to resolution. The other thing is changing your business model innovation is constant in this economy. You start with a vision of a platform, and for a while you think there's a line of sight, and then it's gone, and there's suddenly a new angle. Constant. You know, I used to work with a financial institution where we used to say, if there's anything that is constant, it is change. It is something that we need to keep doing, which is evolving. We have to change. And so I'm going to teach you, and I want you to write down this formula. We teach it to all our clients, and it's called the formula for change. And this is how we overcome our resistance to change. Remember, I said there are some people who are operating below the point of power, and they're curling up into a ball, and they're going into that acronym I said, which was the BED, which is going into blame, excuse, and denial. They don't want to change. They want to blame everybody else. They don't want to take responsibility. They don't want to overcome. And the thing that causes us to not change, I'm going to go more into that formula for change on another slide, is the fact that we fear change. The resistance we have is fear of new things, fear of the loss of control, fear of failure. Okay, I tried this, it doesn't work. But in order for us to keep innovating in our business, we're going to have to try new things. And that means we are going to have to make small pivots, not one, not two, but many, and we're going to have to make them rapidly, a series of small pivots, and we have to do them rapidly. We also will have to identify opportunities in the market. What is doing well now? How can I serve them? I'm going to give you another example. So I have a client, he's into steel making, and he makes furniture, and he will make things out of steel, whether it's gates, it's fences, whatever, but a lot of steel and glass. And his business was just locked. And he sat there saying, what am I going to do? He sent home some team members, but he has been in our planning sessions, he has been in our workshops, and he was going, but I know I need to do, where is the opportunity out there? And he was saying, well, everybody's saying make face masks, but he's saying no. And then he said, what if I did face shields? He sat down and he made a face shield, and he made a number of them, and then he put it out there, and immediately he got orders. He has so many orders. He was also featured on TV where people in pharmacies were showing themselves wearing his face shields. We have to recognize that in this industry, there are opportunities. We have to be ready. We have to have that mindset which says, there are opportunities out there, and I am going to find them. I am going to succeed. Do you know where he is right now? He is making masks. He had to bring back the team that he had sent home and teach them. What did I say we have to do with our people? Repurpose them. He had to sit down and teach them all the new skills of making face shields. And right now he is overwhelmed with orders for face shields. Those are examples of people who are pivoting and pivoting rapidly to survive. Remember, someone is thriving. Find the opportunities. Who can we serve? Who are we seeing that is actually doing well that we may be able to support? We have to find those people. Leverage and scalability is another thing as well. We need to be looking at what can we leverage and how can we scale. So I want to get into the formula for change, because this is a very important one, because our resistance to change is what's going to hold us back. And remember, the only constant in life is change. So this formula, write it down, D times V, or take a picture of it when I'm done, plus your first steps must be greater than R, which is your resistance to change. We have to overcome. We have to change and adapt, or we will die. This is about survive and thrive. We are going to have to adapt. So the D stands for dissatisfaction. The V is for vision. FS is for the first steps. And R is the resistance to change. What we have to do is the speed and the change, and the speed of change to many people is always uncomfortable. That's why so many organizations remain the same, because they know they need to change, but they aren't willing to. And that sometimes is as a result of the mindset of the leader. Don't want to invest. Fear of control, fear of failure. So we want to stay the same way. Well, in this new world, we can't afford to do that. So what we have to do is to look at this. We are going to be uncomfortable. Anytime you have to do something new for the first time, it's extremely uncomfortable. Always, always. So change and the speed of it is uncomfortable. How do you handle it? And how do you handle it? Reflect on practicing the virtues of, I love this word, I have right now in my office on my whiteboard, I am present, which means one thing. I am not living in the past or worrying about the future, because the only place, and the only time that I can make a decision is in the now, it's in the present, and I have to remain present, fully energized in this moment. The other word is courage. I said I am present. I am strong in God's grace because I'm a woman of faith. And I am courageous in the pursuit of my purpose. We are going to have to be strong. We're going to have to be believers of courage. We're going to have to practice the virtue of adaptability and flexibility. Speed is going to be important. So when you look at D, which is dissatisfaction, many of us know right now what we're unhappy with. We have got to multiply the pain. Tony Robbins said one thing. He said people either run away from pain or they run towards pleasure. We have to decide, is it pain that's going to drive me to come out of this, the dissatisfaction of failing? Or is it going to be the vision of my business prospering, of me being able to regain my wealth, of me being able to have a business that can come out on the other side? And then D times V plus F, the first steps, which means I need to have a plan. That's why we say plan, don't panic. I need to come up with a plan. I need to sit and focus. I need to be courageous about it. What are the things? So all the things I'm sharing today is a part of your first steps. Shore up the mindset. Start to look at the business structure. What pivots do I need to make to overcome my fear and my resistance to change? The other thing is this, folks. You are sitting on this webinar with me because virtual is the new normal. The option to work from home when needed or to try a different lifestyle without having to change jobs is a win for everyone. Now, many of us would say we'd love to work from home. Well, guess what? It's happening now. We are on this webinar because we all are only now able to communicate and learn online. Scotiabank is able to be having this webinar with all of you right now in the different countries that they serve because of this platform called Zoom. You heard Audrey say before, and you heard me say as a banker before, actually Audrey and I lived in another banking life with Citigroup many, many years ago. And one of the things I was the head of internet banking at that institution, and that was 20 odd years ago. And to this day, there are still so many people who are not using internet banking, resisting. Remember I said that when crisis occurs, we have to be able to adapt and do things we never wanted to do before or feared. Well, right now, Scotiabank just spent a couple weeks before this. I know Casey and Audrey and all of them were working on getting customers onto the platform they were afraid of getting on. So now we have to use the technology. We have to adapt. We have to use the technology now, especially in our banking transactions, as a part of our commerce to pay and collect. We have to be able to also be able to monitor our balances online, to be able to see when people pay us and to give them the information. We have ACH, we have RTGS, we have inter-account transfer within the same banks. We have online credit and debit transactions as well. So folks, We have got to say yes to technology right now because this is going to last for a while. We also have to look at how do we manage our people who are working remotely. We have coming up on April 28th a online webinar. It's free again, so you're probably are getting it, and I'll send it out at the end of a session. A webinar called Virtual Leadership. How to lead effectively when your people are working from different places, when they are not in the office anymore, or if you are working virtually and they are in an office, whichever one. It's a different set of challenges. So you have to manage your people working remotely to put things in place to keep the organization going. And of course, if some of us are still able to operate our businesses, we know the social distancing that has to occur. But right now, I can tell you this. We have been giving as coaches, there are 4 coaches in my firm in Jamaica, and every week we offer 20 business owners a 1-hour pro bono coaching session. I'm going to make that offer at the end of this workshop, of this webinar as well. And do you know, when I speak to each of those business owners who have raised their hands and said that they want to have that coaching session, what comes out of it a lot is, I am feeling alone. Our people who are going home to work with their children at home, sometimes in not the best conditions, are also feeling alone. As leaders, we have to remember this. If we have people working remotely, how are we helping them through this crisis? One of the things we have to be doing is having meetings. Every morning at 8:45 a.m., I have an online meeting with my team working remotely. We check in every single morning. It's called an online huddle. How are you doing? What do you feel like expressing? What happened yesterday? What do we have on our plate today? We share with each other. We also pray with each other. So are we having meetings? I hear so many people and leaders are saying, my people are working from home. I don't even know if they're working. So there are some things you need to do if you're going to have people working from home. And that is reporting and planning. So every Friday, we have a virtual planning meeting. We've already done our quarterly planning for the next 90 days. And then in addition to the morning huddles every morning, on Friday, we meet to review what the next week is going to look like. What were the action items that we had from our 90-day plan? And yes, it's constantly changing, and that's fine, but we're all on the same page. And so we are reporting on what we've done and planning for what's going to happen. Guys, this is the new normal. So the other thing we need to look at are measurements. What are the new activities for the business? So if things have changed, just as in regular business, you need to have key performance indicators. What are the new standards for each person, by team and by role? So if you're managing remotely, the KPIs the team had when they were in the office has now changed. It may be how many calls are you making? How many emails are you sending? What did you do today? I use Microsoft Teams, and we also have OneNote where they actually put in what it is that they're going to do for the day, and at the end of the day, what did they accomplish? We have individual meetings with each team member where we look at their KPIs, where we look at their performance. You need to, I want to say this, as Audrey said, could go on for a while. I want you to shift your mindset to understanding that if it's going to go on for a while, then I now need to create an organization, structure, roles and responsibilities and measurements that are now going to operate virtually. What are my new standards? What's the cadence of activities? What will happen daily, weekly? Do I need them to send me something every day? Is it something every week? What are the outcomes from the activities? So what we're going to focus now on is not so much on outcomes itself, but making sure when you're working with virtual teams that you work on the activities, on the process that will give you the outcomes. You need to update all your metrics, all your scorecards. And a very important thing as well is to communicate and to make visible the new scorecards to the team. Teams, leaders online. I want you to understand something. Teams need something to align around, a common goal. And when you're in the office, it's easier to do that. But when they're working remotely, some are in the office still who are able to do so, some are at home, you're in and out. You need to have a scorecard, something that people are focusing on, because this is going to go on for a while. So we can't roll over and play dead and just sit in panic mode and wondering what's happening. We actually have to start creating the structure. So communicate and make visible those new scorecards to the team. I have a sales team that's talking with a business owner, and I said to her, she has a new sales manager, and I said, make sure you have your online pipeline, that people are updating, that you can see the measurements, what they're doing, how many calls they've made, how many sales did they make. And what we also have to do during this time is, if you are repurposing your people, you need to train them on the new activities, the outcomes and the measurements. I'm having a training session this Friday on a system that we have had to migrate to and that I've been using, but I need to teach others as well, because one of the things you need to think about this, and don't think I'm being morbid, as a leader, you could become sick. Let me pause on that one a bit. If you become sick to the point where you can no longer lead your organization, do you have in place someone who, or a team of people who are going to be able to continue the activities should you become sick? You need to think about, if this team member becomes sick or that one becomes sick, who do I have that would allow us to be able to continue? Every day count. Every day counts, folks. So make sure that you're identifying those things as well. The other thing is your products and services. How does your product or service need to pivot? Again, I'm going to talk about another client of mine, Stationery Center. So one of the things that they do is they offer office furniture and office supplies. So you would normally go to them or and order your supplies, or corporate orders, they would deliver to the corporations. Well, everybody is working from home now. So the furniture sales weren't going as great. So I said to her, well, do you know what has happened? We have now moved the offices from the business to the home. So what are the home office needs of the people working from home? We have many executives working from home. And I'm going to tell you something. When you go on that virtual leadership webinar, you'll know one of the things that's very important is, for your people to be productive, they need to have the right tools. You spent a lot of time doing that at work. Now they're working from home. They're either working at a dining table, or they're couching at the end of some dresser or something that they're using as their desk. So one of the things she did was, then we said, let's come up with a home office furniture and kit. Home office furniture, if you're establishing a home office, and a starter kit for team members who are going to work from home, so that you can ensure that they have all the tools and they have the right chair. The chair I'm sitting in now, I must have tried 10 different chairs and it never worked, until I finally found the right chair from that same company, from my client. And it has made me super productive. My back no longer hurts me. So one of the things we have to think about is, our teams are working remotely. Do they have the right tools or the furniture? When she launched that, she immediately got 40 orders right out of the door. Again, what did she do? She pivoted. The other thing is that I told you about the Easter egg hunt already, so I won't go into that one with the party. So where can you pivot your product or service to meet these needs? And what and how will you shift your offerings to the marketplace? I spoke about delivery, and how will you deliver your product or service? I had a business owner talking to her this morning. So they would normally do the deliveries, but she's concerned about the fact that, her team members may not be able to do it, or at risk. And I said to her, there are delivery companies out there who this is what they're doing. So you may need to have engage them to deliver your product or services. And by the way, on this one as well, we may need to also deliver your products or services online. All of our workshops right now, which we used to do in person, even this program called Scotia Vision Achievers that we had, we're going to have to think about how can we offer that program later on. But the thing is, all workshops that we used to do in person, which we had in train, we now had to move to an online platform. So how will you deliver your product or services now? And we're doing it, and we're using meeting rooms and all the different facilities within the online platforms. We have to shift. The other thing is, when you are shifting, also make sure, how will the changes impact your brand reputation? Does it align with or complement your brand? So be careful that you don't go doing something that's so way outside of your normal business or what your brand represents. And then if you are creating new intellectual property, make sure that you are protecting it. And then what education is required to communicate your changes. What this means is this. I know that many people are sitting inside their companies and they're thinking of new things. But you know something, having an absolutely great idea, if nobody knows, is like having none at all. Because you're the only person who knows. So what we have to make sure is that whatever new thing you have, you're going to have to communicate. Yes, educate. You're going to have to educate both your team so that they're clear on the new products or services, how it's packaged, how it is delivered, how it is priced, etc. How does it help the customers? And then you also have to communicate with your customers and your clients about the additional products or services that you have pivoted to offer. Education right now. So many people are not marketing now. They're going, I can't spend any money on marketing. This is the time, folks, that you have got to market. As Brad Sugars will say to you, you market your way out of a crisis. You are going to be out there. The amount of free webinars that we are doing, the amount of things that we are doing to put ourselves in front of business owners. And I thank again Scotiabank for being such a great partner. I've worked with Scotiabank for 9 years. And they have put this program together so that I can speak to you, is that we are communicating constantly. Working with strategic alliance partners is one of our strategies to communicate. They brought you to me. It's a way of communicating. So we have got to start communicating and educating our customers to the changes. We have to make our marketing and sales pivots. So as job as marketers are to understand how the customer wants to buy and help them do so. So, you know, we have a pharmacy here in Jamaica, for those who are not, called Fontana Pharmacy. I'm going to give you just some names of people that I see doing so many amazing things. And from before this, they had already said that you could WhatsApp in your prescriptions and we will fill those prescriptions for you and deliver it. They had already been doing things in a way that was allowing people to not have to come into their retail store. But that worked absolutely beautifully. Now they're telling more people about it. And in addition to that, they're also letting people understand as well through their marketing, you know, what's in it for them. Why is it that we're offering this? So they're also doing, you know, we will bring it to you. Supermarkets are also allowing you now to purchase from them and they're delivering. Everything is changing, but the messaging must always be what's in it for them. It's because we care for you. We want to make it convenient for you during this time. Another thing is, what changes are needed in your marketing budget? I was speaking with another client and what she was saying is, okay, so we need to get this information out, Marcia, to our customers by using billboards. And I said, billboards? But I said to her, is anybody driving around now? And then she said, oh, yes. So you may need to change your marketing budget, that line on the different strategies to say not billboards, but now I need to move where? Because when people are at home, they're on their mobile devices. They're watching TV or cable. They're on YouTube or they're on internet, Facebook. They're on Google. They're on Instagram, whatever it is, Twitter. LinkedIn. Everything now has to move. So your budget needs to shift. And if you can't do it, then listen, shift that budget to finding a good digital marketing expert or a platform that can help you. But whatever you do, you have got to keep marketing. How will you engage your customers and interact with the marketing, with the market? I have so many clients right now that I ask them, do you have a database of all of your clients? No. Or it may be in some platform. I said, listen, repurpose your people right now and have them go into that platform and extract every single customer name and email that you have and get it all together in a spreadsheet or something, and then get onto one of those online platforms, whether it is Constant Contact, whether it is Salesforce, Infusions, I don't care which one you want to use, but they're all out there right now marketing heavily themselves. And all that you need to do is get your customer list together into a file that you can import into their platform. Let me just think, I'm saying Constant Contact, so that you can actually engage with your clients and interact with them. This is the time to keep speaking. Marketing is two things. Marketing is education and communicate. Education and communication. We need to educate the market on what new pivots have you made, what new products are you selling. You have to use and pivot now with new marketing strategies, and do it really fast. Don't sit down and wait and hope that we're going to come out of this soon. So we need to pivot. So engage your customers, get that database together, and then interact with your market on an aggressive basis. So your marketing must shift. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, you need to build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. During this time, your marketing also can't be too hard selling. It has to be different. You have to make sure that you have a more compassionate tone. So I even said to one of our businesses again, so she's in the baking industry. And I said to her, now it's a great time to put together these small care kits, that there are people at home who are not feeling well, or they're feeling down or feeling sad. And sometimes there are well-meaning people who have the resources that you could have a campaign which goes, give a gift of compassion, of care. Have a compassionate tone which says, we understand that you're all going through difficult times. And as a company, we are creating these beautiful packages in which, you can create that sense of sweetness and happiness by giving a gift to someone who is at home, who is not feeling well or is feeling down. You have to create something that you can start to have a different message in order to be able to sell your products. And there has to be a sense of urgency. That's why I'm saying we cannot wait. And one thing you've got to say to people is take action now. Some people are thinking that to be marketing in this time is insensitive. Folks, let me tell you something. We all need to market and sell right now, because that's what's going to keep the lights on for every single business owner in this country and keep people employed, is if we find a different way to pivot and to sell. So don't apologize for marketing. Have the right compassion and tone. But where you can, keep marketing, keep selling, because you are keeping people employed and you're also helping someone else to stay in business. And go virtual, because everything that is virtual can be shared. It can go viral. Even now we're here across so many countries. And do your marketing much, much, much more than before. If you weren't doing any marketing before, this is the time to do it now, because you have the platforms that allow you to do so. And then, because we're Action Coach, and Brad Sugars is the king of what we call our business chassis, where we talk about testing and measuring, knowing what your numbers say, and driving those. So I'm going to recommend you a book called Instant Cash Flow by Brad Sugars. Write it down, Instant Cash Flow by Brad Sugars. And there he speaks about knowing your numbers. And another one is instant advertising, because for every single marketing strategy that you are using, you need to know Is it working for me or not? Know your numbers, know what works, know how many leads it got. Even coming up to this webinar, how many people registered? You need to know your numbers versus your investment that you made in it. The other thing is communicate and educate on the changed offerings. I spoke about that before, but I want to do it a little bit more on this. This is the time that you keep in touch with your existing customers. Keep in touch with them constantly and even over deliver to them. Also, if you had in your database former customers, which everybody should, reach out to them. How are they doing now? Let them know what you are doing now, because they could be buying from you. Keep a pipeline as well of everyone that you've reached out to and what they have said and what's the next steps. Have your prospects on a database, very important. I have people who are saying they have no database. And I said, you need a database not only of your customers, but also of everybody who didn't buy from you, because they may not have bought from you in the past, but they could buy from you in the future. Keep that database. It is gold right now. And also develop new target markets, again, based on the products that you're offering. I want to move now into sales, marketing and sales pivot. So with sales, as I said, with compassion, the two main pillars of great salesmanship are being competitive and compassionate. As I said, don't apologize for the selling. We're trying to keep businesses open and people employed. So we have to change our tone, but we must have a serious customer focus. If there is anything now is focusing on what is it that our customers need now. And it's still selling, and we need to sell on purpose, be very purposeful. What exactly is it that we are selling? Don't try to sell everything, because some products now are not relevant. So within the list, I just had a business owner, again, when we're going through her reforecasting of her budget and her numbers, I said to her, what used to sell in the past? Look at your inventory. What is it that we can sell now? Let's focus on those things. That's what we're going to be doing now, right? So we need to sell on purpose. And then remember also one very thing. I'll send the names of the books again at the end. Someone is asking about the names of the books. We'll give that again later on. And then the other thing as well is to then make sure that we focus on relationships. Relationships matter. Every single person you have now, you are going to deliver and over deliver on. You're going to treat them absolutely like the best thing ever. Those relationships matter. Over deliver. Make your customers feel great and feel happy. We have to be doing that right now with our customers. And then customer service for repeat business. We have got to keep giving great service. Every contact we have with our customer influences whether or not they'll come back. So we have to be great every time or we will lose them. This is the time, folks, building relationships, focus on your clients, give away things. You know, where we say keep all existing is a must, but let me just step back a bit, because I also want to say we need to give away things during this time. We are giving pro bono coaching sessions. We are giving our time to business owners, because that's what we do. We help business owners, and we don't just help them during the good time. We also help them during the bad. We help them through the difficult. We coach them through making the shifts. We are giving our time to help this nation, because in Jamaica, our vision is Jamaica abundance, but the vision for Action Coach globally is world abundance. We want to see this world come back. And so we're helping people. So we're giving away these coaching sessions. And for existing ones, even some of them who have stopped, we're still checking in on them. We're still coaching them. We're still going above and beyond. It's a time to build loyalty with your customers. Who are the people who have been loyal to you over the years? Treat them well. It's not the time to lose them just because they maybe can't pay you one bill right now, because you're going to come back out of this and you want to keep those customers. And remember, virtual must make you visible. And another thing as well, is that I don't know if any of you have heard of the concept called critical non-essentials. They're critical but not essential to your business. So for example, I had a business owner, and one of the critical non-essentials that we did was we said, you know, when people come into your, she's a dental practice, and one of the things I said to her is when you come into your, when people go to the dentist, one of the things is that they're afraid of pain. And the other thing they're afraid of as well when they're walking is the smell of the antiseptic and everything, because it just makes them think of pain. And so the critical non-essentials we developed was, okay, let them smell instead brewed coffee. Let them also have pastries. You know, she also arranged hand massages for them to kind of relax them before their actual treatments. So what we were doing is coming up with the critical non-essentials to make our people feel great. What are some of the critical non-essentials that you can offer right now in your business to make your customers feel great? It could be when somebody buys from you, send them something really special. Right now, it could even be that you may say, thank you for buying, and I'm sending you a very special pastry or one of those you know, dessert kits or whatever to help them feel great. Because that is where the profit is. The profit is in your repeat business. We always say the purpose of a business is to get customers and keep them profitably. And to do it profitably, it's easier to market and sell to an existing customer than it is to try and get a new one. So keep that going. Last phase is your team and resource pivots. It's always the organizations that are resource constrained that come up with the good ideas to win. How does your team need to pivot? We need to leverage the resources that we have. Your keep allowing you to serve more customers in new and expanding ways. How else can we do that? And so it's important to keep in mind that your team also has, so think about it, your team is one of your biggest resources. What are some of the skill sets of your team right now that are untapped? Maybe right now you're having to do a lot of designing and marketing and creating things, and you don't have the resources to invest in someone to actually pay to do the marketing online for you. But maybe there's someone in your organization who has great skills on designing or in creating, or are very good on the computer and designing things. You may need to tap into some of those resources. For example, I have learned now how to just so very quickly right now, just get a testimonial video from someone, edit it in my iMovie, strip out the sound, put on the title, upload it to YouTube, and just blast it all across social media. And that can happen in less than 15 minutes. I've had to learn how to do things and use that skill set. And I'm also looking at other members of my team who can do the same thing. We need to cross-train right now. How can we redeploy the team to cover all the required tasks that we have to accomplish? And what new skills, processes, and training must be developed and implemented? Everybody right now, you may have to reduce your team size. Remember, I spoke about that. But for the remaining people left, I'm going to say something to you. During this period, we're going to have to work. As a matter of fact, I am working longer hours than before the crisis. So everyone on your team who you have remaining are going to have to recognize to keep the lights on. We're going to have to work longer. We're going to have to work harder. We're going to have to do things we never did before. We're going to have to train you. Sometimes I may have to, if you're remaining, you may have to take on the work of 2 or 3 other people, simply because the list of things we had before in this particular area no longer exist. But these are new tasks that we may have to take on. And in order for us to survive, these are the skills you'll have to develop. It's a different world. And get the most from them. So start with good people, lay out the rules, communicate with your employees, motivate them and reward them. And if you do all these things effectively, you just can't miss. So with the mindset is, again, shift fear into focus. I spoke about your mindset as a leader. I need you to understand your team right now, their mindset is in fear. They have been sent home to work, some of them remotely. They're not used to working remotely. They're seeing people around them losing their jobs. They're seeing all of this crisis happening in the world. They are fearing right now, and that's going to impact how they perform. You, as the leader, I've said to many of my business owners who are having teams working remotely, you have got to have sessions with your team, not just for huddles, but even to have training, for example, videos, even on mindset, helping them to shift their fear into focus. Feed the faith, not the fear. Set the new standards. Be seen leading. You cannot be a leader now, folks, who is missing. So you may see and forget that because I am not in the office anymore, and I used to walk into the office and they would physically see me, so they would know I'm the leader, it's now changed because you're not walking into a physical office. They're all remotely spread out all through the countryside, all in different homes, and you're leading from your home. They need to see you leading. They need to feel you leading. You must be seen leading. You have got to be out front. This is a webinar for the leaders of businesses and leaders in companies. We can't be hiding behind our own fear. We have to be willing to embrace technology and get online as well and have those sessions with the team and hold them accountable even in this time. You have to balance. It's a balancing act, but we have to do it. All right, so train and retrain, we spoke about that as well. And by the way, I want to say something. When we spoke about getting the most out of your people, one of the things in terms of keeping as many as you can, I had to work through a business owner, as I said, moving from denial. Her business is one, and I think many of you are in the same thing too, which they got business and their customers primarily were in the hospitality industry and in the events industry. And as you know, you're hearing many people saying that for that industry to come back, we're looking at December into January. That you're hearing people saying that unless the virus, there's a vaccine or whatever, we won't be able to have these large events. And one of the things we had to go through was those stages in which she recognized that if this was going to be for a while, and that the industry that she was depending on would not reopen for a while, then she wouldn't be able to keep everyone on her payroll. And it was difficult. Small business owners, it's very hard for us to be able to say, okay, we are going to send home team members. It's very hard. They know them. It's so personal compared to very large organizations. So one thing I'm going to say is that you will have to furlough some. You will have to cut salaries. You will have to send some people home. And the thing is that if doing so, you want to keep the good people. It may sound weird to say this. This is a time to part with the poor performers, the people who have the bad influences and the poor attitudes, the one that you were always all along afraid to have the difficult conversation with about performance. This may be the time to do that. Don't drag it out. You need to actually do it now. And decide on the team size that you will need to come out of this crisis and try as best as possible to keep the team that you want, but keep as many as you can, because we do intend to come out of this. This will not last forever. We will come out of it. Just make sure that we have some of our people, the people that we need and depend on, to be there. Right? So we spoke about the reallocation, systems, processes. The other thing I want us to look at is to make sure that we're looking at our inventory. And I want to spend some time on this because we may have an inventory, raw materials, we have work in progress, and we have fixed goods, finished goods. We need to look at, for the finished goods, what can we sell? How can we move it? For the raw materials that we have, if you aren't able to do it, how can we sell it to maybe someone else in another industry who may need these raw materials? You know, we've heard of farmers. We had a farmer here, you know, where he has lots of, he used to supply eggs to the tourism industry. And because the tourism industry was locked, he was having to kill off his chickens. When that came out in the newspaper, so many people immediately flocked to him to say, no, we will buy those eggs. We will buy them for our supermarkets, for our companies, whatever it is. So he was able to save his chickens. We need to look at, are there any raw materials that we have that we could actually use in some other way or sell to someone else? Facilities and equipment, how could we actually use those differently? How could we maybe rent a facility to someone who is right now needing space because their industry is booming, but they don't have the space to do it? It could be equipment, it could be machinery. And then this last one here, finances, cash flow management. This one is crucial. I have spoken to so many business owners and I've asked them, have you done a reforecasting, a cash flow forecast for the next 90 days? Have you looked at your numbers again? You have to start making sure that you're focusing on your finances, refresh your cash flow metrics weekly, look at it weekly to gain early visibility to risks in this area. You have to be forecasting on a regular basis. And it's important, folks, that as leaders, you know the numbers in your business. So if you don't know your income statement, balance sheet, or anything like that, this may be a time for you to be doing courses and workshops online and reading books that will help you to understand that. But definitely, you have to be doing that. So for your cash flow management. So it's a good time, as we said, to cut costs and to extend your credit facilities. So you need to be at Scotiabank online. I'm not going to say anything more, but you need to speak to your bankers. You need to speak to your suppliers. You need to speak to anyone that you can to see how you can extend your payment periods. And this time, folks, is very important to keep your suppliers and partners. You're going to need them. Don't just not pay them. Have a conversation with them. Maybe say to some, I can't pay everything, but this is what I can pay. But keep the communication going. Keep your important suppliers and partners. Access any government programs that you may have. And postpone things that you had planned to do. Postpone what you can. Reschedule it. Put it off. You may need to change your cost structures. Right now, you may not be able to do certain things, you know, because, and so you may actually find that the costing of your goods, even the way you deliver. Our workshops we used to do in office. So we would have food, we have beverages, we have workbooks. That has now changed. We don't have those costs anymore. So one of the things you need to look at is how can you change your cost structures in different ways? And the most important thing is, folks, for cash flow management, there is only a point. There's up to, you know, you can cut and cut and cut, but to survive, you're going to have to make money and find a way to bring in money. So you're going to have to sell your way out of this. The other thing I would say to you is remember, and I'm going to talk about now the upside of this if you are someone who has the ability to do so, is that a simple rule dictates my buying. Be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. Warren Buffett. Stock markets right now, you can actually get many of your stocks at way reduced price if you have the liquidity to do so. I also had another conversation with a business owner because she had been looking to purchase businesses smaller than hers in order to be able to grow her business by acquiring. Guess what? There may be companies right now that are up for sale who just cannot come out of this crisis. Look to see, are there companies that we can buy? Also, when companies are selling to their customers, when they're failing, their customers that may be up for sale, look for those, have those discussions. And remember, they're economic cycles. So we have to act now. We can't wait. We can't put it off. Every single day and every single minute that passes is an opportunity lost. We need to be acting now. So, having said all of this and having shared all of this information, it's important for us now to not just, okay, shared a lot of stuff, heard a lot of ideas, took some notes. The important thing is you're now got to move from just taking notes and learning to actually taking action and planning. And how you should be planning is in 90-day slots. So we just had our 90-day planning session yesterday. We're going to have another session with our coaches. So I really highly recommend that each of you be looking to develop your 90-day game plan, working 90 days. Look out for more. You're in our database. We'll be letting you know about our next 90-day planning session. But it's important. I had a business owner again this morning. We had a complimentary session and she said, Marcia, I have all of these ideas and this is what I want to do. And I said to her, where are the ideas? And she said, in her head. I said to her, ideas in your head, not written down, it's just a dream. Get those ideas out of your head and onto paper and start to develop a plan. A plan based on everything I shared with you today. What will you market and sell? How will you deliver and change? You have got to survive first. So that 90-day plan is all about how do I survive these next 90 days? And cash is important. So the marketing, the selling, the cash flow forecasting, the setting up the credit facilities, speaking to your suppliers, this all needs to be in your plan. So survive first, thrive second, and work with a coach. There are 4 islands on this phone, on this webinar today. We can hold a complimentary coaching session with you. So at the end of this, I'm going to make an offer for the complimentary coaching sessions. And again, it will be the first set that comes that we're going to be doing. So your to-do list is list 5 ideas that you got from today that you need to take action on today, and get ready to develop your 90-day plan and your leadership plan and get with an action coach. So I want to move very quickly into what can you do as your next steps. So crisis leadership. There are most business owners who will respond in one of 3 ways in a crisis. There are some who will have what we call flight, there are some who will fight, and there are some who will simply freeze. We want that everyone on this webinar who took the time today to not be either of those 2. We want you to fight and plan and take action. So we are Action Coach. And coaching is a business apprenticeship where we grow your existing business so it more than pays for your investment. So what we're doing is teaching you how to build a business that can one day run without you. And yes, that is still a dream. This crisis will end. So what will we need to do? So what I want to do is play right now a video, a testimonial that someone gave me, one of our clients, as a result of she was just so happy with the fact that she had her coach. So I'm going to play it for you.
The world has changed. The coronavirus has changed our daily lives and our businesses. This pandemic has us so distracted, and our team members are distracted as well with social media and the constant influx of information, most of which is negative. However, my coach, Marcia has helped me to navigate through the chaos and adapt to the changes. While we cannot ignore our concerns entirely, my coach and the learnings from Brad's videos has made me refocus on what I can control. What can I do to make the business survive? How can we pivot? What is the opportunity in this situation? While it's not business as usual, with the learnings and strategies I developed along with my coach, we will work towards keeping the lights on.
All right, awesome. So what she was saying is that, listen, when you are, as I said, most business owners that we're calling are feeling alone. And sometimes you have lots of ideas, but you don't know who to speak with. Remember that identity iceberg I spoke about? Surround yourself with people who you can share your deepest fears and concerns with, and who will help you to brainstorm and to see things that you can't see. And so I highly recommend that you, whoever is on this session, We're going to give you the opportunity at the end that you'll be able to email us if you are interested in taking up the pro bono coaching session. We're going to send an email out, and then you can respond to it, and then we will, with a sign up as to who wants to take advantage of the coaching sessions, the complimentary coaching sessions. We will also be sharing with you a bonus. Our CEO, Brad Sugars, also created a 5-hour training. This is totally free. 5 hours, a video for there are 10 videos, half an hour each, one for each day. I'm going to share you that link so you can actually start to learn wherever you are from day one. Every day, watch the video, and every day take action in addition to having the coaching session with us. So we're going to give you a lot of stuff today because we want to help you survive. Because many times what we're going to have to do is that the people who survive are the people who pivoted and didn't turn around. The people who stayed late, the late majority and the laggards are the people who lost control and lost their business. We don't want to do that. Research shows that 85% of people who attend a workshop or webinar leave and do nothing. Scotiabank and Action Coach partnered today. Scotiabank has consistently invested in their clients for the last 9 years through this Vision Achiever program and working with Action Coach, and I do mean invest. And this is the time now when they said we need to help our clients and put together this webinar. The goal for this webinar is for 100% of you to take action now. And the action at the end of this is this. When we send you the link, sign up for the complimentary session, and then we will follow up with you afterwards in terms of the process to go through to get the coaching slots, etc. This is normally valued at $375 US, and you're getting a 60-minute pivot strategy session with a coach to help you during this period. So if you want to schedule that, you can either be proactive, send it to Andreen with this information, take a picture of this, or wait until she sends you the information to sign up for your coaching session. All right, so we are now at the end of the webinar, and I now want to go to the questions that I am seeing here. All right, so the names of the book. I'm going to type it in right here. It's Instant Cash Flow by Brad Sugars. And the other one was Instant Advertising. And all of these you can get on Amazon on Kindle. So I just sent that to everyone. All right, so let me see what were some of the other questions that came in. All right. What were the names of the books? I answered that. Hi, I know you said you'd answer at the end, but how would you advise self-employed skill set workers, that is beauty therapists, lash stylists, nail technicians? All right, this is an industry that is one of those that's going through a very difficult time now. So I'm not sure what your restrictions are with respect to within your countries and what social distancing there is. You know, we have, and one of my clients is, and they have the optometry and they also sell frames. Their business has remained open, and what they have consistently been doing is educating everyone. That's why I said you have got to keep communicating with your customers on what are some of the social distancing things they're putting in place with their team and you. What are the things that you're putting in place to make people feel comfortable and working to come to you? It may be that you may also have restrictions on the number of persons who can actually be in your parlor at one time. And you may need to also make sure that you are putting in all the sanitization, etc., that is required, and make sure that that's in place in order for people to feel comfortable to do so. But this is one of those industries and that people are going to feel a little bit more reserved about going to, and you've got to accept that. So there are some people that you won't be able to serve, and so it's just one of those industries as well. But make sure that you put in the practices and let people know and educate them on what steps you are taking to keep them safe if they come to you. Wearing of masks, the constant sanitizing of your equipment, etc. Let me see any more questions. What were the names of the books? All right. Turning costs into profit. Yes, so that question. So what I meant by that is to make sure that right now there are some, like the vans that you used to have. I mentioned the delivery vans that were there as a part of actually just delivering goods and services for a particular company. What I'm saying is to turn that cost into a profit, in that now he could actually rent the vehicles to be able to deliver products and services for the industries that were succeeding. So that was a cost that he now turned into a profit. The other thing as well is, remember I said repurpose some of your team members. So some of them were more admin type team members. So they were more on the cost side, that, you know, their salaries, they were not engaged in making revenues. However, you could now have them being on the phones, calling people, selling products, teaching them new skills. So now they're actually now becoming a part of your revenue process as well. How can I market the product online if the client can see? How can I mark if the client can see the product in person? I am not sure how to, I'm not understanding this question very well in terms of how it was phrased. How can I market the product online if the client can see the product in person? Well, if there are some products that they can see in person and they don't want to come into the store, then I would say to you as well, market it online with videos so they can actually see it, and to be able to, so this is now where you're going to have to use videos to be able to let people see what they're buying before they buy it. If that's what your question is asking, I'm not really sure in terms of how it was phrased. All right, are there any more questions? I'm seeing a lot of thank yous, not seeing any more questions. All right, open, answered, one, okay. So I don't see any more questions. So again, we're going to send out to everyone the offer for the pro bono coaching sessions. We have an offer there where you're going to be able to speak. Oh, Audrey Tugwell has raised her hand. Give me 1 second, Audrey. I'm going to unmute you, Audrey. All right, Audrey, you may now speak.
Yes, Marcia, that was actually an error. I was trying to see if I could see the questions. But since I'm on, I just want to use the opportunity to thank you for such an informative session. And I want to encourage the persons attending the webinar to take up the offer for the pro bono coaching session. It will be time well spent. And if you were able to share so many ideas in this hour and a half, I can just imagine the value creation in the coaching session. So I encourage persons. So on behalf of Scotiabank, thank you so much, Marcia, and thanks to the participants. I'll now hand back over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Audrey. Thank you very much. All right. So we're going to bring the webinar to an end. Look out for the emails, and all of you stay safe and stay healthy. And again, I want to thank Hope Macmillan, Casey Johnson Vaughan, as well as Audrey Tugwell Henry for putting this together. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.